Welcome to the Forge and Foundry podcast with your hosts, Tony Swatton and Kerry Stagmer. So today on the Forge and Foundry podcast, we're going to be welcoming our friend Fawn Davis, who at Fonco is really doing some fantastic things. He really kind of caught me by surprise when I first visited him. I was out there for a job for Legendary Entertainment and Nerdist, and we worked out of Fonco, and it was really, really a blast. But we can kind of get into that. You know, my first awareness of Fawn was really on the AweMe channel, along with Man-at-Arms, the show Superfan Builds, and he was obviously working on that, so that was both on the AweMe channel, and it was also available via Netflix. So, Fawn, welcome to the show, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. So glad to join you guys.
Well, we have so much to dive into today, including BattleBots and Star Wars. But first, let's hear about today's video sponsor. With so many online threats that exist today, I decided it was time to up my security. Whether I'm home or on the go, I know that I'm protected.
Look, free Wi-Fi! No! Oh, no!
Though it is getting expensive. Learn one weird trick a local blacksmith discovered that cuts forging time in half?
No!
Not the computer! I think it's time to switch to NordVPN. Become safer online with a single click with NordVPN, the fastest VPN on the planet. With services like their Threat Protection Pro and Dark Web Monitor, I know that I'm safe from malware and online threats. Use our unique creator link, nordvpn.com/allme, to receive an additional 4 months of service when you purchase any 2-year plan. With a 30-day money-back guarantee, you won't find a better deal anywhere for NordVPN. So ditch the other guys and get NordVPN today.
Malware! No!
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Tony and Fawn are in the same area. I know that they work on a lot of the same productions, even though perhaps not directly together. But it's definitely a small world as big as LA is. It's a small world, and there's a limited number of people doing the same things. To give just a little background that I'm aware of, Fawn is he's teaching at the Sam Winston school. He is working on BattleBots, as we see, as a guest, and I guess at one point you were a competitor on BattleBots. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to have a Mouser Mecha Catbot was my robot when it was on Comedy Central. And then when the show switched to ABC, I lost my sponsorship, so they asked me to come on as a judge. And then now I'm hooked on judging, and I don't want to go back to competing.
No, the judging sounds like it would be fun, and competing, while it can be fun, can be heartbreaking. I think at least that's what it would seem like to me, but that's really cool. How often are you on the show?
Every season. I missed a couple seasons when they switched over to Discovery Channel, but I'm back on again.
Great. Yeah, that's really great.
Every season that I'm a judge, I'm on every episode, just kind of there watching. We only end up on camera if there's a decision that goes to the judges. A lot of times if it's a knockout, it doesn't come to us, so we just chill and enjoy the show then.
Yeah, that's very cool. Are you guys aware, like Tony, are you aware of like specific shows that you guys have both worked on? I mean, obviously there's a bunch of Star Wars stuff going on right now. Is there anything that you know of that's like current that you're both on, even though you might not be working together?
Well, we did both work on The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing stuff for season 2. He's doing stuff for the I don't know what we're allowed to talk about, but we both worked on The Mandalorian.
Well, if things are out there in the public, and that gives us a little bit of room, but obviously you guys have to keep that wherever you've signed an NDA. Obviously,
there's always secrets.
There's a lot of stuff pending that we're supposed to be released last year from things that I've worked on that will be, I think, released next December, and I don't know what the other project I'm working on when that even. They started filming last Monday, so.
Yeah, with a lot of the drama that's going on in Hollywood, there's been even bigger delays than just normal production. Right,
kind of across the board. And so I know that you started, or at least you were working at Industrial Light and Magic at one point. Is that kind of a beginning period for your career, or were you before that in that type of work?
Before ILM, I was actually working for Disney Skellington Productions, so I was in stop motion. But before that, so I started at Colossal Pictures, and we did weird things like liquid television and a lot of music videos, commercials, but we also did a lot of stop motion spots, including like the old Hershey Kiss commercials and the Pillsbury Doughboy commercials. I met a lot of people in the stop motion community there, and that's how I ended up on my first feature film, which was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right. And when I was at your studio, I saw the kind of mountainside from Nightmare Before Christmas, where he stands up on that rise with the big curl. I saw that sitting in your studio. Yeah, the Spiral Hill, and there was so much cool stuff just kind of all over the place at your stuff. Even going back to, I guess, even some Star Trek stuff, some early stuff.
Yeah. I'm pretty fortunate to have. I've been able to land gigs on most of the major franchises.
Right.
So it's like Star Wars, Star Trek, Jurassic Park, Terminator,
Orville,
Matrix. I haven't worked on Orville. They've called us. We haven't had a chance to work on that one yet.
Babylon 5?
Not Babylon 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers, right?
Starship Troopers, yeah. And then, let's see. Oh, Galaxy Quest was a favorite. Maybe that's what you're thinking when you're thinking Orville. Because it's like a comedy, sci-fi.
Were you working with Stan's people on Galaxy Quest?
On which people?
Stan Winston's people?
Oh, that was up at Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a lot of the big franchises. When I was working at ILM, that was from 96 to 2006. No. Yeah, 96 to 2006. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so when we were working there, at the time, ILM was doing 70% of the visual effects work in the entire world. So if there was a major movie getting visual effects, we would work on that movie.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a really good time to be
I'm
there.
assuming at that point, and was Adam working there at the same time with you?
Yeah, Adam Savage was there.
Was he
Jamie
there?
Hyman had worked there for a short time, and Tori Bellici and Grant Imahara were all working in the ILM model shop. So Kerry was the only one that was on the show later that I hadn't met until she started doing the show, because Fonco actually worked on some of the stuff for Mythbusters.
Right. And then I guess you've appeared on Tested a few times as well. I assume you and Adam must be pretty good buds.
Yeah, we're all still really good friends.
I've watched a couple of those.
Yeah.
Well, at Fonco, Fawn has Grant Imahara's workshop in one of his 3D printing rooms. So
we've turned our... Grant Imahara used to have his space here in the building. And he did all of our machining, a lot of our electronics and robotics work here independently as his own studio. And then when he passed, I didn't have the heart to rent out the space, so we just kept the space in dedication to him. So we do all of we call it our special effects lab. So we do all of our 3D printing and our technology-driven work, machining and robotics stuff in there.
Okay, and can you give us an idea what is his foundation, the Grant Imahara Foundation?
Oh yeah, the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation was founded by a bunch of us that were friends of his and his mother. This is definitely the brainchild of his mom, Carolyn Imahara, and we started the foundation. We've been collecting donations and working with the Stanford FAST program, giving scholarships to young people who are disadvantaged, come from lower income families. And then we're also working on a thing called STEAM Stars, which has got 12, science celebrities or whatever. And we're teaching classes, each of us, I'm one of the 12, and we're teaching classes for elementary school and middle school students through a series of videos and things like that. And there's a lot of exciting things going on with the foundation.
Give us an idea of what the what Fonco encompasses. Like, I've been to your studio, and it's broken up in lots of little studios. It's not just one thing. It's not like you're just responding to one client at a time either, which is it's pretty amazing, all the things that were going on when I was there. I mean, obviously, LA kind of shut down for a little while for you guys, but I know it's coming back in. So just can you kind of give us an idea of, what the scope of Fonco is?
Sure. Like in a typical work environment, not during the strikes and COVID and stuff. Typically, we have at least 12 projects going. And we have an art department, so we do design and development work, 2D and 3D designs, concept art, storyboards, all that stuff that's necessary to plan a project or in pre-production. We do work directly with some of our own writers. We have partnerships with other companies, so we'll get in on pre-production, production, and a little bit of post-production for movies and television. We have a sound booth, so we do with our own sound engineer in-house, so we can do voiceover, ADR, that kind of audio work. We have multiple stages with standing sets and then empty stages. So we're in one of the standing sets right now, which is a spaceship. We have a bar, we have a doctor's office with a hallway and an elevator. Sounds really mundane, but that's a really like high in demand. There's not a lot of those around, so we built that. And then we have like an outdoor alley space that we do a lot of our pyrotechnic shoots and things like that. But we also have camera-safe graffiti on the walls, so it looks like an alley, and it's used for a lot of music videos.
Right.
And if you don't know what camera-safe graffiti... Yeah, that's right. We shot
that's where we did the shots, where
we
were smashing stuff.
Exactly. Yep. So that's a safe space to blow things up and to do violent things. And if you don't know what camera-safe graffiti is, it means no swear words, no gang symbols, and no copywritten art. So believe it or not, you can have someone do a bunch of graffiti, but they own the art unless you have that in your contract. So it's a very specific thing. Oh, and then we have a dungeon too. I forgot. We have like a medieval dungeon set that we end up shooting a lot of tabletop gaming shows in there. Like we did. I think it's still obviously it's on YouTube, so it's still running. But I think they're still releasing episodes. As Desi Quest it's a role playing. It's a Dungeons and Dragons role playing style show with it's an all Indian cast or East Asian. Yeah.
Bollywood.
Yep. Yeah, it's like a Bollywood Dungeons and Dragons tabletop show. That's really awesome.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I'll check that out just to kind of see something different like that. That's very cool.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky. Our reputation at Fonco Studios is to do the unusual. So I always say if we build a couch, it's either going to eat somebody or be shaped like a dragon. So nothing normal. So we do the design and development. We have the stages. We also have multiple fabrication shops. So we have like a scenic shop, and then we also do props. We do a lot of miniatures. We do robotics. We do specialty fabrication like 3D printing and vacuum forming, laser cutting.
Did you bring any of the fabric?
I don't have that here. But we have one of our newest 3D printers actually prints on fabric. So we do a lot of costume work in conjunction with Lauren St. Laurent. So she studied fashion and costume design and pattern making. She's a master pattern maker. So whenever we do anything in fabric, Lauren will do all the patterns and her team will sew it. We just did astronaut suits. NASA accurate Apollo spacesuits for the movie Fly Me to the Moon. So that's in theaters now. We did all the spacesuits for that movie. And we usually, our fabrication shop will do all the mechanical parts, the plastic and metal pieces, and then any kind of electronics. And then Lauren handles all the fabric work.
Yeah, it's cool. I never really gave a lot of thought to, you could print on fabric. You could not only print something that's an application on the outside, but it could be a prosthetic from underneath of the way the way you want to have that cloth drape or something. That would be
yeah, absolutely.
That'd be pretty wild. I never even contemplated something like that.
Yeah, and you could do flexible material, you could do rigid material, you could print it in color, and then you could also do translucent or opaque. So we've done a lot of samples and tests with using lenticular technology. So it's like, those old cards you could flip and it shows a different picture. So you could do that on the fabric. So as you're rolling around and looking at the fabric, it'll change color. So there's a lot of really great things. We haven't yet had a chance to use that on a show because of the climate of the industry this last year.
Right.
But I'm just going to put this out there. I think the first motion picture that uses this technology for their costumes is going to win an Academy Award for their costumes. I'm just putting that out there. We're ready to do it.
Absolutely. Throw that out in the wind and see if it comes
I'm
back.
going to throw it out in the wind. Well, no, Tony knows this because I was doing a panel at a convention. It was an anime convention with Tony, and we were doing like a maker panel. And one of the audience questions was, out of all the franchises that are out there, what would be the one that you haven't worked on that you want to work on? And at that panel, I said, well, I really want to work on Godzilla. And then
there you go.
After that panel, I got a call from the production, and they needed some things for their the performance capture actors. They needed prosthetic creature parts to wear while they were doing their performance capture. So I got to do that work. And I got that call a couple days after I answered that question at the convention. And so now I'm like, I'm just going to put everything out in the world and just see what happens.
Absolutely.
I think that was Anime LA.
Yeah, it was Anime LA.
And there was about 6 or 7 of us on the panel. I mean, Grant was out there, Fawn was there. Yep. We had people
Brian Forrest.
We had people who were working on Star Trek. And when the questions and answers came up, everyone was like, how do you become a blacksmith? I'm like, these guys do so much cool stuff. I mean,
That's cool. I assume that you have fully embraced the 3D printing world.
Oh, yeah. I've got some samples here from the class, actually, too. We're using... so Stratus was one of our main technology partners. And they let us 3D print some of this stuff on their machines. We have our own 3D printers for some things, but then other objects. At the time, we didn't have a printer that could do this, but now we do. But this is a flexible material that is 3D printed. I don't know what it's made of. It's something proprietary, but we put an armature wire into it to make it posable. But this is a flexible material. You can 3D print in different thicknesses, and it's flexible. And then the remarkable part about this is 3D printed in color. So this comes out of the machine just like this. This is no sanding, no paint. And the machine is the machines we have. That's from one of their bigger machines. So. And then this is from the J55 we have. This is an example of a print that we did with no sanding and no paint. That's an elf model by Margaret Dost. And then this one here is a creature model by Elliot Sirota, one of our designers here. And it's hard to see on camera there, but it's actually got subsurface scattering and some of those effects that you get in doing really great creature design in the 3D print. And this also is no sanding, no paint. So it's really beautiful stuff. We have on our social media, if you go, there's some high-res images of those. And then brought one more show and tell item here. This is a...
you want me to hold that and then you...
I think I got it.
You got it? Okay.
I think so. Let's try. So this is a 3D printed animatronic tentacle. So let's see if I can...
wow.
So, it wants to...
Pop it up
get friendly.
Fawn, if you put it on the center console there.
There we go. Oh, now the tentacle has grabbed my microphone. Okay. So you can see there. It's an animatronic tentacle. Yeah. So, and that is all 3D printed. So we use different 3D printing technologies. This is FDM printed, which means it's going to be stronger but lower resolution, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered by the skin, which is higher resolution. And that's SLA. So, yeah, that's fun. And then James Powell, I think, I'm not sure which machine he used, but he used a CNC machine to carve the mold for the ship that we made, and he helped me on the course to do a lot of the painting and detail work. And then we do a little bit of molding and casting and some fiberglass. So we show how the technology ties in with traditional fabrication techniques.
Right. And we here at Baltimore Knife, we do kind of a little bit of everything, but we're very sword oriented, obviously. So everything is a much smaller scale. So, for us, we just got a large, what was large to us, 3D printer, the new unit from Bamboo, which has just really been a great thing. And one of the things we just kind of, and you see some of it now, you see more people doing it, but we just started playing around with making wax injection molds. So instead of trying to print the part, we're printing a mold and going directly to the injectors to cast to make bronze or or pewter or steel or things like that. And that's a big change for us because we're, much like Tony, we're doing mostly historic processes, often with machines that are 100 or 150 years old, our old power hammers and stuff like that. Yeah. And in that way, we share a lot of things, but we also have a lot of technology here. We have a couple CNC mills and a CNC plasma table and router and, printers and the new fiber lasers have become so inexpensive. It kind of is mind-blowing that, the lasers that were completely out of the range for either a serious hobbyist or a small business are now $3,000 to $5,000, and they are unbelievable what the work that we can do with them in directly into metals. So that's really cool. And of course, Tony also has induction. We do our forging with induction on small parts, and those machines fully set up, essentially replacing a gas forge for the operations you can do in them are like $1,500. So the gas savings that we have in the course of 1 year with that machine completely pays for it. Plus, when it's 100 degrees out, you're not standing in front of a forge to heat up your metal. Only the metal gets hot. So it's pretty amazing how the technology starts to roll into stuff like that.
Yeah,
so. Kind of magical.
Yeah. Well, it's fun too. Seeing how, like you said, it's all becoming very affordable now, which we've been using laser cutters for quite a long time, and 3D printers. The first 3D printer I got was like $40,000, and now
wow.
you could basically get the same quality of printing from like consumer printers that's selling for $3,000. Of course, what we're using in the Stan Winston School classes is that's going to be the next wave of technology. So right now it's getting into the CMYK and the color printing. So even though now, while we're doing the course, those printers are expensive, they will be coming down in price as they become more popular.
I feel like we're seeing dramatic drops in costs in that technology as it's becoming wider and wider spread. I mean, it's not even like coming down 10%. It's coming down by 2/3. I mean, it's pretty amazing how that stuff is becoming available so quickly into the market, like nothing else that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and also, companies that have the more expensive machines are becoming more affordable as well. So you could get, like, say you don't want to spend the $250,000 for the color printer that we have, you can just go to Stratasys Direct and have them print your prints.
Right.
That's becoming a lot more affordable as well. So it's been very interesting through all these years playing with the technology. I was lucky because I came into practical effects right around the time a lot of this technology was being introduced, so I got to get in really early. I actually call it suffering from early adopter syndrome because I also have to have all the new technology while it's still expensive.
Right.
And
definitely.
And I learned how to break it, and that's how I've developed these relationships with these companies. Is I try to break their equipment by pushing the envelope, and then I end up in conversations with their tech department, and then they're like, "Wow, you're doing some really amazing stuff. Let's collaborate."
Right.
So.
Right, because they're inside of the box thinkers, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're especially the guys that are creating that technology. They're chasing the same problem over and over again to make it work. And we're tackling different problems every day, and I'm sure it's the same way for you. Actually, both of you. Of the three of us, we're always presented with a problem where you're like, man, I never even thought I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
And have a crazy deadline.
Yep. Well, and you guys know it's like in this industry, it's really nuts because you always hear about the three things. You could have good, fast, or you could have any two: good,
right,
fast, or cheap. You could pick just two of those. But we all know that our clients want all three, like all the time.
Right.
So
every single time.
Our biggest challenge, I always feel like in the film and entertainment industry, is like, how do you do all three? How do you get as close to getting all three as you can? Because that's always going to be what they want.
Right.
And that's why I think it does force you to lean into like finding what is the latest equipment, what are the latest techniques, what's the latest material, because they are coming out with new stuff all the time, and you just have to approach work as a student and always just be researching and studying all this new stuff.
So the group of us have all worked, obviously, on the AweMe channel, working previously with Defy Media, and now Tony and I are back working on the AweMe channel, and we certainly have tried to figure out how to fit you back in, Fawn, with maybe some more superfan builds. We'll see as soon as we can figure that out, or we can certainly do something else.
I know James Wade and Michelle Morrow definitely want to jump back in too.
Right. Well, there's
it'd be easy to get the band back together.
Yeah.
Certainly, we'd love to do some other stuff with you as well. But can you give us an idea how you in your memory when you started working on superfan builds, and if you have any real memories of any of the builds you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, we had a crossover with superfan builds long before Fonco actually worked on it, and that is when they made the pilot episode. They actually rented the Fonco Studios shop space and studio to shoot that pilot episode. And then I remember it took a long time to get the show launched, and then they launched with pretty much a completely different group of people, and it kind of evolved into something else. And then the show was on for a while, and I think in 2015 was the first time they contacted us. But this time they wanted to have Fonco Studios actually on the show and fabricating things. And the first build we did was... it totally got me hooked on wanting to work on that show, because it was a Nuka-Cola vending machine based on the Fallout video game. And it was like a survival fridge. So it had a microwave, a garbage can, a bottle opener. It had Bluetooth speakers, just everything basically you needed to survive in a room by yourself and play Fallout.
And play
all
Fallout,
built into the Nuka-Cola machine.
Right.
Yeah, those builds were... that's still some of the most fun I've ever had on a show. Because we got to... our design department got to really contribute to the design. So we not only got to build it, but we got to design it and then build it. And then we got to give it to someone who was just so eternally grateful and excited to be receiving whatever it is that we built, I remember one of my favorites.
Did you make the Groot swing for Coleman?
We didn't do the Groot swing. We did the... toothless couch for that little girl. Everyone is convinced that little girl is an actress because she was so excited. And she spoke very, very clearly, she really emphasized or enunciated her words in a way that everyone thought she was an actress. But that was all for real. We almost cried. She was so out of her skin. It was really cute.
And did you do the billiard table for Forrest? Or was that an earlier one?
No, that was an earlier one. We did the Dungeons and Dragons table that had the built-in monitor and the really...
Right, and I can tell you that still gets a fair amount of viewership on the channel.
Oh, nice.
On the YouTube channel.
Yeah, we still have we still have the original sculpt for the table leg, which is the dragon fighting the giant. It's a really cool sculpture that Elliot Soroti had done for that. And then
that's wild.
What else did we do? Oh, we did a tornado and house blender for Wizard of Oz. We did a zombie treadmill that had an animatronic zombie that would chase you when you were on the treadmill.
That's great.
I don't think I watched that one. I'll have to go back and check that out.
When we were on the show, it was really great because it had been around long enough that they had really worked out all the kinks in terms of how to work with a fabrication shop and how we were going to structure the shoots versus the build. So we would we'd always shoot the episodes the same way. We would shoot a meeting with the superfan, and then we would go and we would design something, and then we would have another shoot where we talked about the design and what we were going to create. And then we would go a couple weeks into the build, or maybe 1 week. Each build was a little different in this sense, but they would just come at milestones during the build and check in, and that way we could just focus on fabricating, and then we would have a bunch of stuff ready for them to shoot. So we might fake a couple things cooking show style for that day of shooting, but we didn't have to do that every single day we were building. So it wasn't like some other reality shows where the camera crew is there all the time. And so that really helped us, and it also really helped their editor because they didn't have to comb through all this useless footage, you know. We really made it count when they were here for the shoots. And then we would do the reveal. That would be also its own shoot. And that's when we would give it to the superfan. So, the structure made it really fun. And the builds were always, because we got to design them, of course, we would design things that we'd have fun making. Oh, Cthulhu Fountain.
Right, why not?
That was another one. That we built a fountain that looked like Cthulhu, holding skulls and
did you do the Iron Man high chair? Was that one that you did?
The Iron Man high chair was the first, I think that was the one that shot here. That was the pilot.
Oh,
okay. No, it was a Hulk.
Okay.
Was it Iron Man or a Hulk? No, it was Iron Man.
Yeah, that was actually made for Natasha, who was working for Tony at the time. I guess, or maybe not at that point. She had already left, right? And she ended up married to my brother. So they actually that's actually out here in Baltimore.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's such a small world. We ended up knowing because I go to all the conventions and stuff. It turned out and this was not planned, and this is not like an inside job or anything, but I would know some of the super fans because they were such huge fans of whatever it is,
right?
You know, that I would have already known them, or I would know of them because they do cosplay or they do other stuff that they're really well known for.
Right.
I think I got into Stan Winston's School of Character Arts making the armor when I met Matt Winston and Eric at Comic-Con at the what was the auction booth, Profiles in History booth, and Natasha walked by wearing this aluminum bra and shoulder piece, and that drew a lot of attention. So they talked to me, and eventually I was on their show showing how to make prop armor out of aluminum.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So. What is that? What is that? What is that class?
Armor
cover?
Making. Yeah, just using hand tools and CAD. Cardboard aided design.
Oh, that's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's great when we get a chance to kind of get together on stuff like that. You know, that was kind of the situation for Tony and I at Ubisoft Forward, where I was just I think you were out of town at the time, but we were just in town. About 4 weeks ago, I guess, was Ubisoft Forward. I think it was June 11th.
Was it
Ubisoft
okay?
Oh, June makes sense because I was on vacation.
You were in Florida.
I was on a beach.
Yeah, you were on vacation, exactly. Yeah. Right, because we went to Scum and Villainy, where you're going to have a party out here.
And I'll go to Scum and Villainy for Fawn's birthday on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll be there Saturday.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. So when I guess when I first met you face to face, I came out to do that Godzilla promotion that we did, where we took a hydraulic press and you had a couple of people there sculpt a big Godzilla foot, and then we smashed a whole bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah, Meg Wilbur sculpted that foot. She was from the show Face Off, I believe.
Right, and it was really funny because when I come into your studio and you took me back into the room where Meg was working, and they had the molds of it in the foot, and we were gonna set that to the hydraulic press, and this giant guy comes over, and you're like, this is the guy that you're going to be working with, and his name is Hobbit, and I'm like looking up at the guy. I'm 6'2", and I'm looking up at the guy, and I'm like, figures. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And Meg is, a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And, but she's not the Hobbit in the room. He's the Hobbit in the room. It was really funny. I think he was not thrilled to have a person kind of introduced into his studio space. I think that's kind of how he viewed it initially. But
no, I think he's just low key. Good, and, he's a very nice guy.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, I have to say, I guess we were there about 3 days total, and that was really one of the most fun times I've had. And it was funny because Mary Carr was working for you at the time. Only we didn't even know that we were both there. I think she realized it when she was editing after I had already left the set, and I knew her from Stage Fight like combat choreography classes and stuff.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't know that.
From an event. Yeah, we knew each other from before that, and now she's spending some time at Tony's, hanging out, making. I don't know. What are they making there? You got a series of
they
women
want
coming over and doing some work.
Doing a monthly gathering of creative women, where 12 to 15 women come out, and we give them free reign to do whatever they want with fire and casting and gem cutting and jewelry work and armor making. We call it Fae-Forge. So Mary came out and cut a gemstone, cut an amethyst for her initial one, did a bezel set ring. But the funny thing is, I'd known Mary through social media for years. And when I was on the set of Boba Fett forging the Beskar spears, she was, on the stage trying to text me or Facebook message me, but I was being a good boy and had my phone turned off, and so I didn't get any of the messages until I got back. So,
yeah, because I guess she worked on Mandalorian near the end as well.
I think so. Yeah, she's all over the place. Yeah,
yeah, she's been on a lot of shows. She's high in demand. She's a very good coordinator, producer, and all that.
Excellent. Well, another thing that I guess you were on that I wasn't familiar with till I did a little research for the podcast here is Cake Masters.
Oh yeah, with Duff Goldman.
So yeah, I hadn't realized that, and along with I guess you were working with Duff. So Duff was a Baltimore boy and made my wedding cake.
Oh, nice.
So it was just kind of it was pretty cool to see that he was really a blast, and the maid of honor in my wedding was his boss when he was working at the University of Maryland. I guess just like student like janitorial stuff. So his boss was actually our maid of honor. So it was really funny.
Wow, yeah, he's a great guy. We did that show many years ago. We still keep in touch. He's also a big fan of BattleBots. I found out when I started to do the show, he would message me.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
I would get occasional texts that would say, I don't know about that call, man.
Yeah.
or good call. I agree.
Yeah, that's really funny. I don't know if I see him, I guess he's working all over the place now, but I don't know if he's still living in this part of the world or not. I haven't really paid attention. I'm become a little more like Tony, where we become hermits.
Yeah.
And kind of hang out in our own space. And I think that you certainly probably understand that.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's how Duff's place was. It was wild.
Yeah.
A lot of really talented artists there working in his place.
Yeah, I think a lot of people...
In an old church, too. A converted old church.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd only been to a space
it's a really
here,
cool place.
Here in Los Angeles
Yeah.
when we were doing the show. He had a lot of really talented people there as well. But I think he's kind of here and there. He travels a lot for the work. But I think also after the pandemic and then with the strikes, there's a lot of weird stuff been going on with our industry for a long time that's kind of kept people from fully engaging socially. So it's a lot harder to get out there once you've spent a lot of time at home or in your studio too.
Right. No, definitely. It still feels weird when you go into a place where there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've done a few conventions, and I'm sure both of you have done some conventions where you go in and there's 40,000 people in the room, and it's like, man, I don't know if I'm not sure I was comfortable before the pandemic. I'm definitely not sure anymore.
Yeah.
So.
It took me a while to adjust to that. I do remember that, but I'll do, I want to say almost a dozen conventions a year, so I've gotten back into the swing of things, I think.
Yeah,
I'll be at...
yeah, that's great.
You're going down to Comic-Con in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con, and then also Dragon Con will be the next one.
Oh, you'll go to Dragon Con? Yeah, I guess that's true. Gary, who works here for us, Gary Jimenez, I know he's contacted you here and there. He's going down with a big crew of guys. I think he's going to try and touch base with you.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Paul's going too, isn't he?
Yeah, Paul, and actually, Hendy will be there. Who's our DP that does a lot of our filming, and so he'll be there with with the Sony FX9 and shooting as much behind the scenes and meeting people as we can. So
yeah, it's a fun time. It's a really fun time. It's like a 5-day costume party. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the busiest times of year for us, and it's like that's an escape that I do every year with my wife. We go we go up to Lime Rock, Connecticut for the vintage car races, and
nice.
I don't think I'll ever be able to get out of it. So I think I won't. I don't think I'll make Dragon Con, but it really does sound like a hell of a time.
It is
certainly an awful lot of people there.
Yeah, I'll try and make it to Dragon Con eventually. Been invited a lot, but not yet.
In Hotlanta, as we say.
Yeah.
Well, they got tubes. So. They got tubes that connect all the hotels.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
No, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really neat. So we just released a Stan Winston School class where I am teaching a whole course with James Powell and then a lot of technology partnerships on how we use technology for fabrication. So it's a very exciting course. I haven't taught with the Stan Winston School since for about 10 years. I did another class on how to do how to make a vacuum former and then how to make a sci-fi helmet using a vacuum former.
Right.
But this one we're going to focus on 3D printing and CNC milling and laser cutting, vinyl cutting, all the kind of technologies. All the kinds of technologies that we use for fabrication. We're going to be using teaching in this class. I also get into like how we bid projects, utilizing formulas and just kind of trying to give artists kind of the modern day look at how we run a studio like ours. So it's going to be a really big course, and it's going to take a build. We're building a container ship and an animatronic octopus, and then we're going to shoot that, or we have shot it on a green screen, but that's also going to be part of the course, is the effects crew compositing in the ocean into that shot as well. So it's really from the very, very start, like what it looks like to bid a project, all the way through the computer graphics and how that interacts with practical effects. It's a really comprehensive course. On the first one that I did, I really tried to focus on things that were accessible to regular people, try to make the class accessible to as many people as possible. And then the second class that I've done recently is really focused on how to carry into being a professional fabricator. So it's a very, very different strategy.
Right.
Which strategy did you use for your armor class?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
With no tools, with a stump and a sandbag and a ball peen hammer.
Oh, that's cool. So it is something that someone could do if they don't have like a blacksmithing shop.
CAD, cardboard aided design instead of computer aided design.
Perfect.
I
love that stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I go on Adam's show and really enjoy working with him. His fans like to really take in how to do things, and so we do the same thing.
Right.
On Tested, we'll try to focus on things that people can do at home.
Yeah, it's really great how entertaining he is on top of, the good information that he's putting out there. He seems to have a really excellent connection to his audience. It's pretty amazing how good he is about that.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah,
he's passionate.
And that's all him.
What
He's
does.
just that's just his personality. He's just got a really great personality.
Yeah, it feels totally genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I assume
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's hard to shut us up when you get us together because it's usually been a long span of time, and then we'll hang out together and we'll just man, we have so many, because we both built our home shops at the same time many decades ago. He was building a basement shop and I was building a basement shop, and we were both really short on space. So we used to trade notes about different techniques and tools and how we were doing things, and we just kind of that was our connecting point. We would just really nerd out about setting up our workspaces and the projects we were doing. So we've kind of carried that through. So now every time we see each other, we're like, okay, you got to check this out. Like we both end up with shopping lists when we visit each other.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's threatened.
And I'll just throw it out in the wind like you do. We would love to have him on the show.
Oh yeah.
So that would be really great.
He's great. Yeah, he'd do it. It's just his schedule is nuts. So it's just a timing thing. Yeah. Actually, I guess I wasn't that easy either.
No, and the three of us together is not easy. What works for me is this is, obviously I'm on the East Coast, so I'm 3 hours later. And that actually works really well for me because we're pretty much by 9 o'clock at night, the shop is shut down and everybody's gone, but I'm still here working. So it's great to be. This is almost like taking a break to be able to sit and talk to friends and kind of catch up, which is really kind of a neat thing to kind of be turning into a show for us. So really been a good reconnection for Tony and I as well. So.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of late nights here as well. Not on the spaceship, but in my office.
Right, just flying around, Yeah.
One of the things that I was just thinking about that's really cool about Super Fan Builds, Tested, Man at Arms, like all these different shows, it really, I think it's kind of all the same audience in a way, because what I've noticed is through the years, a lot of people have really embraced computer technology in every single field imaginable. So everyone is like sitting at a desk working on a computer, and I think the whole maker fairs and the maker movement and the popularity of all these shows and the popularity of making things and wanting to get your hands on fabricating things comes from that sitting at a computer all day. So it's like a really wonderful escape for people now. And I think it's, in a weird way, bigger than ever. Because when computers came out, they were very exciting. I want to get a computer. I want to learn all this software, And you do all that, and then after a while, it just kind of, drains you. You got to get your hands on something physical, And I think that's the maker movement is actually oddly spawned from the computer movement, Yeah,
I would definitely agree that it is, and I feel like, and I'll bet you guys feel the same way, the popularity of it has snuck up on us because we weren't part of it, because we were already creating all the time, and then all of a sudden the things that we did were on everyone's mind when it wasn't before. There were only a few of us that were constantly creating, and now it feels like the whole world wants to be creating again, and it's pretty neat. I mean, it kind of feels like, I'm sure you've seen it, but you go back into the 50s and early 60s, there were a lot of how-to books that were really very interesting, that were revival type things, and it feels like the internet obviously can make that much larger and expand very quickly, but it feels like that's what's happening now. Is that this whole kind of maker? We could still call it the maker movement, right?
Yeah.
It is just. The growth is absolutely unbelievable. And it is the same people looking at, all of the same stuff. And for me, Tony's around Renaissance festivals and does some work there, but that's the soul of my business, basically, is manufacturing a retail product for Renaissance festivals. And I can remember pretty much all of my life I've thought, man, when are people going to get tired of this and they'll have bought their last sword? And I don't wonder that anymore. I know that the love and the passion for all of this that we see in the clients is not just to buy something, but to also be involved and make. And I know that it's going to outlast my lifetime. It definitely feels like the growth was explosive and surprising. I never really thought that I'd just say, oh yeah, Renaissance festivals are not going to die. They're always going to be around, at least through my lifetime. And I definitely didn't feel like that when I was younger. I always thought, this is going to die out and this is never going to last. And I couldn't have been more wrong, definitely. And it's, kind of across the board with the whole, I guess we call it nerd or geek culture today. It's still growing and growing and growing, and it's so mainstream, it just seems impossible.
I think there was an interesting shift that happened from when we were children to now. And that is, there's this whole idea that after you graduate high school, or actually while you were in high school, you purge your toys, you grow up, you have to get ready to get a job and go to college, and you get a job. And then you don't read comic books anymore. You don't collect toys. It's like you purge your childhood. Right. And now I feel like, partly due to entertainment and turning comic books into popular culture through movies and, all the Star Wars kids grew up like myself and don't want to let go of this piece of our childhood, I frankly think that older generations just didn't have the kick-ass childhood that we had, And so now it's like you have adults growing up and then buying toys and adults wanting to dress up in costumes. Like I remember going to conventions and it was like only the super ultra nerds would go. I would go to a convention, I would go to work, and I wouldn't tell anyone I went. I didn't want to explain it, you know. Exactly. And then, why do you go to that, you know? But I had a blast at these conventions. And then now it's like Comic-Con draws 250,000 people into San Diego every year, you know. And, you know, all these conventions have like over 100,000 people, these big conventions in Phoenix and Salt Lake and New York and just everywhere. And then also, I used to go to conventions and there would be maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2% of the people at these conventions would be in costumes. And those were like the uber nerds that were like into costuming and cosplay. And now it's like it's become so much a part of the popular culture that I'd say about half of the population is you know, the attendees at conventions are in costume.
Maybe
I remember,
more.
and it wasn't even that long ago. We shot an episode of Castle. And I remember we staged a fake convention for the show. And in the fake convention, they had like about half the people were in costumes. And I was like, oh, this is not realistic. Not that many people go in costume. And then the very next year, I went to a convention and half the convention was in costume. So Castle was ahead of its time.
Yeah, I have the sword that I made for Nathan Fillion for that on my wall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So. But,
yeah, I went to
more small world
Katsucon
stuff.
this year. Katsucon out here in D.C. This year. And I can remember at one point looking around, you know, there were 35 or 40,000 people there. And I determined that other than the staff who worked for the convention center, I was the only person out of all of them wearing a collared shirt. It's just like, I was like, well, I definitely don't fit in, but that's amazing. But that was really wild. I would say that costume-wise was probably more like 90 or 95%.
Wow. Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it was such an amazing, change.
Yeah. Kerry and I and Paul were able to visit the Renaissance Fair just in street garb, mundanes, walking through there.
Right.
And we couldn't take more than 2 steps without people recognizing us from Man-at-Arms or from Fair or whatever.
Cool.
But not that Tony is ever actually out of costume. I mean, let's be honest.
He's talking about my unicorn pirate shirt.
That's funny. Tony, you ask a question.
Yeah.
It's too quiet over here.
Well, so a lot of times people would think with like CGI coming in that it would take work away from me, or high definition kind of television or movies. But, other than that, it actually brings in more work because I can put more detail that they can film with a macro on it. I mean, do you find the same thing happens?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think in the world of miniatures and physical effects, there's an interesting thing that happened back in the 90s, which was when it was right after Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 and The Abyss came out. Everyone in physical effects was terrified that, okay, that's the end of us. So we would have to look for a different job. In fact, I had Steve Colley, who was like a longtime veteran of the ILM model shop, say, "You chose the wrong field, kid." And I was like, darn it, I just started, But what I think instead what has happened is, when we worked at ILM in the early years, a big movie would have something like, 150 visual effects shots, And Jurassic Park only had 75 effect shots or something like that. So, then we did 300 effect shots. And then there were movies with 500. And then it got to 900. And then next thing you know, it was 2,000. And then after 3,000, we stopped counting. And it was just madness. The number of visual effect shots that went into a movie increased so much that we couldn't even count them anymore. It was almost every shot in the movie was a visual effects shot when we got to Revenge of the Sith, for example. And, all the Michael Bay movies, it's just so many visual effects. But because there were so many new visual effects and the field of computer graphics was growing, there were a lot more computer graphic artists. And the thing that they like to talk about in behind-the-scenes shows is what is the latest technology, what's the latest special effect or visual effect. And so they would always go to like, okay, now it's morphing, or now it's crowds, is CG, or now it's performance capture. So as all of that has happened through the years, I think that practical effects has kind of fallen into the same category as costumes or set building or weapons. Just people seem to talk about these things less, but we're not doing less work. Computer graphics has kind of just grown around us. But I've never been without work for the entire 30 plus years in my career due to computer graphics. We're still thriving. We're still building robots. We're still building creatures. We're still building spaceships and guns and everything else. So I'm grateful for that. But it is a weird misconception that at some point we all went away. And I think, but partly is there was a large number of people that retired, I think, in more recent years that makes it feel like, practical effects and practical work has gone away, but it's still here. It's new people. Or maybe not as loud as the older crew. Or maybe, I think it is the behind the scenes specials, really kind of give a skewed perspective of how movies are made and how much they rely on practical.
Right. Well, maybe we'll see. The maker concept or the maker movement. They want to see people doing things with their hands as much as anything else, if not more. So maybe we'll see some demand for that, and we'll see some resurgence in how it's covered, because that would certainly be great. Because I'm sure that there are guys at their computer who are going to argue with me on this, but I think that it takes considerably more time to learn our craft and learn it well than it does to do the same thing at a computer. And I'm not talking that down. That's where I started my life before I was working with my hands. But let's face it, we know, and certainly Tony can tell you as well, because we're very old tool oriented. You basically never stop acquiring, but you don't stop acquiring because much of what it is that we are looking for to be able to work with only exists with the older generation. And so sadly we end up with some of the tools that we've sought for all of our life as that generation either retires or passes on, and things just aren't available until that happens, because there's a limited number of it. And you don't see that in a computer world, because it's the next new thing. You know what I mean? It's always the next new thing, where it's not that we don't look for the next new thing, but we're really looking for the old, unacquirable object, So
yeah, it's a bit like the induction forge, which I bought 10 years ago that we used at Ubisoft. But at the same time, I have a couple power hammers built in the 1890s that I'm rebuilding to utilize in the shop.
Right. We have an 1890s Bradley, same thing, very early, or the machines that you see behind me, which are Rose engines. These two Swiss Rose engines are 1850, 1860. So, very, very difficult things to acquire. And so that practical end of it, this type of thing can be replaced with, a CNC engraving machine, but it's not the same thing. And it doesn't produce the same physical, look that you're trying to do when you engrave with these. And so I'm not sure that those type of things will ever get completely replaced digitally, although there will certainly be people who are doing that, because it will get cheaper and will get easier, whereas these never get cheaper or easier to work with, or the power hammers or anything like that. They will always be something that takes an extremely long learning curve. Or like machines like this, you basically never stop learning, and you never learn what all the machine will do. So it's important, as I'm sure both of you know, to find people who've been doing whatever the work that you're looking for. They've been doing it all along, because they'll have learned on a different path than you, and you will not be able to learn to do something that they've already mastered anywhere near as fast as they can impart that knowledge to you. So it's very important to communicate with other people. It's not like they can just create a macro on the computer that you learn to use a hotkey and do the same, like you said, morphing. Morphing has become incredibly simple, where it was incredibly difficult. And it's just kind of a thing that you're expected to know how to do no matter what. And that's not really something that's available in the analog world that is available in the digital world. So they're always going to be very different. And I think we'll continue to see people will have interest in seeing, the physical things that we do. It'll be great if it becomes more popular, though, to show that, like you said, in making of and behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I know there's a popularity in it because I got into education to share a lot of this stuff to make sure that it's available for the next generation of makers, or this generation of makers, But one of the things that I was really surprised to find out when I'm at conventions and I'm talking to people about my work and some of my classes and things, I was surprised to find out how many people bought my educational DVDs, not because they had any inclination to fabricate anything at all, but they just liked watching the process of things being made. So I know there's the demand.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I was actually a little disappointed because I'm always telling people, send me pictures of the things that you make once you learn all these techniques. I want to see people what they do with the knowledge once they have it. And I found out most people don't do anything at all.
They're just voyeurs.
Well, most
They
most
just like
people
to
don't,
watch.
And that's all right too. If you only reach 1% of the people, you're still giving a great gift.
Oh yeah, I'm not
to
offended
that
by
next
it. I think it's
generation,
great
for
that they
sure.
have that interest, no matter what the reason. But it's just a bummer because I never get to see what anyone would make.
Right.
I was recently out at Kerry's shop in Baltimore for their Fire and Brimstone hammer-in, and there were a lot of people out there who'd been unforged in fire and things. And I did Man-at-Arms in 2013 and early 2014, so that's a decade ago now.
Wow.
And I said, I meet a lot of people, really talented, bladesmiths that really inspirational to me. And I find out that they got started from watching my videos.
Wow.
And
That's
a
really
couple
cool.
of Kerry's crew they just point to
A couple
themselves.
of guys who
and
work for me, they are the next generation coming up. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good that you met
The
them.
guys
Yeah.
who are
I always want to meet those
25
people.
years old now,
Yeah. We might have a couple people that
Yep.
work here that have seen my stuff, but
Like I told them, you don't want to meet your heroes.
I think I do okay.
You do okay, but I'm a little inappropriate.
I have approached some of the more talented makers that I've met, and I've said, "Hey, do you want to come work at my studio? You're really good." And they're like, "No, I don't," because then it becomes work, and then it's not fun anymore.
right?
I get that too. I'm very excited because my girlfriend and I just got a house, and I got to set up a shop at home, which is a really big deal for me because, believe it or not, I have this great setup here, but I don't ever get to use it because it's being used to do work for clients. So
Right.
I have a studio space at home, and so it's the weirdest thing because I do all this stuff for a living here at work, and then I want to go home and I want to do more stuff. I want to make more things. I'm making full-size velociraptors for my garden.
For your garden.
Yeah, for the herb garden. It's a Jurassic herb garden.
There you go.
I'm going to build a galleon in the backyard as well.
We'll bring some
We'll have
pirates
sword
over.
fights. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tony is definitely going to come by.
Yeah, if there's anything else that you want to plug, I know that you're involved in a bunch of different stuff.
Once a year, I direct a movie. And I just finished a movie called Argy Berman, which is a comedy with lots of fun cutaways and things like that. And that should be hitting the film festival circuit later this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I did last year's movie was Rock In, starring James Hong. We ended up winning a bunch of awards for that. It's a short horror movie. And then the one that we did before that, I have to skip a couple years because it was pre-pandemic. But I directed At the End of the World, which was a love story, which was the first short movie that I directed. Before that, it was just commercials and music videos. But I really fell in love with making movies with that one.
Telling people what to do.
And are those primarily things that you're...
I always get to tell people what to
primarily...
do. That's the great part of owning a company.
Yeah.
But no, directing is it's more. I will say this for all you aspiring directors out there: it is the hardest job you can do in a movie because you have to know every single department, and you have to know it well enough to speak the language for every person on the team, as well as what your options are. So you need to know about lenses, and you need to know about lighting and how to rig lights and how you can get the lighting effects you want, how to get the designs you want from your production designer, and how to, it's storytelling through every single department. It's filmmaking is, I think, just so rewarding because it is such a collaboration with every type of artist you can imagine. You have to coordinate all of that and then get everyone on the same page to tell the same story. So I think it's a really challenging job. I don't think it could be underestimated. On the outside, it looks like you just point and tell people what to do. And I've seen a lot of film students think that that's what it's like, and then they direct a movie and it's awful. But I've been having a lot of fun with it.
You have to be a piece of every department.
Yeah. And when the movie comes out, you can go to a festival and you can see the audience reaction, and you can gauge how many trophies you get. It can tell you whether it's a good movie or not. I make everyone look at my
those
trophies.
Pieces that you
when they walk in the door at the studio, I've got a case of trophies. That's how I know I'm doing okay.
That's right. Is there a place where any of that can be seen, or is that strictly film festival stuff? Do you put it out to YouTube, or is it available anywhere for people to see it?
Yeah, At the End of the World is on YouTube and Vimeo, and then we're going to be releasing Rock In on YouTube pretty soon once it finishes its last festival. And then Argy Berman is going to do the festival circuit, so it's actually going to be shown all over the world. And then once it's done with the festival circuit, that'll go up on our YouTube channel as well.
And what is your YouTube channel?
It's Fonco Studios. Yeah, and then I think we're going to dig up, we're trying to find the original footage for my educational material that came out on DVD. That is no longer available on DVD. We want to chop it into chapters and put that up on our YouTube channel as well. So it's going to be a bit of an eclectic channel. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's what we're going to do. And you can, really we have at Fonco Studios on all social media, and at Fawn H. Davis. You'll be able to see all my posts as well, from more my personal perspective.
Great, yeah.
And then and that's where we're going to be showing. We'll be posting dates for the release of some of the Stan Winston School material. When Argy Berman is going to be playing at different festivals, and then also when we do get around to posting our educational material, kind of the Fonco archive material that'll be going up on social media as well. And some of the fun projects we do.
Great.
As soon as the NDA is open, so once something is released, there's like this weird delay on my social media. So like we will have worked on it 2 years ago, but we'll post on it when it releases. So there's some fun stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's got to become public before it's public.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, that's great. I really appreciate you joining Tony and I here. It's great that you guys could be in studio together or in a spaceship, wherever you are in the world. But I really appreciate Fawn Davis coming on the show with us and telling us about Fonco and all the different things he's worked on. And we definitely will figure out a way to get you back on the AweMe channel here because it's definitely something that people request. We know that people will watch it, and it'll be a whole lot of fun. We'll figure out how to get the three of us in one place too. That'd really be great.
I would love to see both of those things happen. Awesome.
Great. Thank you, Tony, as well for being back on with me. Appreciate it.
No, this is great. I'm glad we made it happen finally.
Yeah, finally.
Click the logo to subscribe, or click one of the videos to see more here on the Baltimore Knife and Sword channel, or go to AweMe and watch Man at Arms.